Crossover! What's up, guys? Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to a crossover episode. Suit Up meets the Geek Fix. Joining us today is my man Loretto, the co-host of the Suit Up podcast. Follow him on Twitter at Marcellus Durden. What up, Marcellus?
What up? The weekend is here. The sun is still shining over here in California. Sorry, I know it's probably nighttime for everybody else on the East Coast, but what up? What up? I am ready for tomorrow, yo. Holy crap.
Yeah, we are on the eve of DC fandom, and my just excitement has just been going up and up and up literally the last week. Also joining us today is the Geek Fix. First up is my man AJ on Twitter. He is AJ_Geek5s. What up, AJ?
What's up? What's up? I'm ready to go. Ready to fight for Batman. All of Batman. I don't care who wins because both of them are good. Let's go.
Amen. We're debating the two heavyweights here. And lastly, part of the Geek Fix is my man Ryan. He is Bat Nipples at Just Ryan again on Twitter. What up, Ryan?
Yo, what's going on? I'm so happy to be here. Me and Deebs have done a few episodes, just the two of us, for the Umbrella Academy. Had to think about that real quick. And then we just do a bunch of drafts, and we've had Low on the podcast, obviously, a few times. Super happy to be here, man.
All right. Should we do plugs? I think we should do a little bit of plugs with DC Fandom coming up tomorrow. We are in the first round of our Suit Up draft, the best DC movies and TV shows of all time. Right now, I think it's AJ and Gabe. They're going at it right now. Lock it down at Suit Up TPL on Twitter. Cast your vote. And then we have the second round, which are 4 matchups dropping around 10 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Go check us out. Go vote for your best squad of DC films and TV shows. It's going to be really fun. Loretto, do you want to plug anything?
Just keep an eye out on the Movies Matrix handle at Movies Matrix on Twitter. Our guy Chad, who helped founded Movies Matrix, he's gonna be live tweeting the whole event. Keep an eye out for Geekly Goods. Me and Dibes, and I think you guys too, right? Geek Fix, you guys are gonna be there too. Okay, so yeah, Ryan, Dibes, and myself, we're gonna be guesting on Geekly Goods on their live stream tomorrow, and I can't wait. It's gonna be so much fun. So keep an eye out.
Awesome. AJ, plug. What time?
We're gonna watch it live with them. Not even live. Sorry, we're gonna do a podcast 9:00 over at Amanda's channel. Me and Ryan will do that. That's about it.
Awesome. Ryan?
Actually, dude, these past few days have been so much. Dude, this is my 4th live stream in a row this week. It's insane. But yeah, dude, tomorrow's gonna be huge with DC fandom. Guys, I'm gonna plug in again. Watch Movie Matrix Twitter. We got some awesome things planned out for tomorrow. It's gonna be massive. So many articles, so many great news stories coming out. Just at your fingertips, man. That's what amazes me nowadays. Everything's at your fingertips. But yeah. Just like AJ said, I'm going to be on Amanda's stream tomorrow night, right after the Batman panel, 9:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys can always check me and him out on there. And then me and AJ are doing a show on Sunday. We don't know exactly what it is, but it's going to be DC fandom on Sunday. We're going to see how tomorrow kind of rolls and kind of go from there, make it a little bit more chill, relaxed, because I feel like this whole week's been more prep. And then Monday is the big one. Me and Loretto are 2 co-hosts for the Movie Matrix Down the Rabbit Hole podcast. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have Chad and Amanda on there. We're going to be talking DC fandom, and it's going to be a new every week episode. Can you guys believe that? Because I can't. That was a lot of sarcasm, but let's get going.
Chatty Daddy. What's up, Chad? Says he loves that shirt. Clearly not my shirt. I think he's saying Loretto's shirt is
definitely
fire.
Loretto's shirt.
Well, he mentions my name in the comment.
Oh, I didn't even read it that far. Down the Rabbit Hole. All right. At Movies Matrix on Twitter. Make sure you check it out tomorrow all day long. Going to be so fun. What the hell are we doing here, guys? We are debating. This is a new concept that we're going to do. This is called the Versus. We're going to pick kind of the top heavyweights, the top 2 movies in Marvel, in animated movies. And to lead us off, that because it's DC Fandom Week, what better can you do than Mask of the Phantasm versus The Dark Knight Returns? We're including part 1 and part 2 in this, FYI. And we're really going to break it down between a few categories. We're going to break it down between story. We're We're going to rate each one out of 10. Story, animation, memorable moments, rewatchability, and overall film score. And we're going to see, who is the victor, who is the winner out of these two heavyweights. Amanda goes, gang, gang, so excited. Thanks for joining, Amanda. Here we go. So I'll lead us off. Let's start off with story. I'm going to lead us off with Mask of the Phantasm. I'm going to give my take there. I'm going to give my take on The Dark Knight Returns, and I'm going to throw it to Lo. Okay? Cool?
Got it.
All right.
Cool.
So for anyone like me, who like me grew up with Batman the Animated Series, like this movie like really truly holds a special place in my heart. Like for me personally, this is the greatest Batman story of all time. Is through and through a tragedy. Not many films deep dive into Bruce Wayne as much as Mask of the Phantasm. That Bruce story, they're just perfect for each other. But despite that, like they need to do what is right. Batman cannot allow bloody vengeance, and even if it's like his great love, like you see, Andrea can't leave that his father's death, undone, and they just both sacrificed their love for one another. It's just the most beautiful, tragic story for me. It's just super important for the Batman motif. Andrea, like that was the final push for Batman, the animated Batman, to finally become Batman. And it's just the quintessential Batman movie for me. It's just a clean, clear-cut story from start to finish. Just Bruce's story of self-discovery. I grade this a 10 out of 10. This is as good as it gets for me. Dark Knight Returns, it's got a couple of quick flaws for me. It's a little too episodic. We're talking about the best of the best here. So it's just split into two parts. Batman faces kind of like not like one major villain. It's got like a lot of enemies. The fact that it's split into two parts kind of breaks that up for me. Joker is an afterthought. Joker should never be a filler, period. So in terms of story, like part one wipes the floor with part two, I think. And like obviously Batman is just amazing, violent, really obsessive, like borderline psychotic vigilante, and that's really handled well here. After more thought, I think part one is better than part two. I think what Dark Knight Returns does really well compared to Mask of the Phantasm is world building, and it is really, really well done there. Overall, I grade the story here a 7 out of 10. Go ahead, Loretta.
Oh man, so luckily all three of these films, I was prepping for last night's DC draft, so I had the pleasure of watching Dark Knight Part 1 and Part 2 back to back, and I just was watching Mask of the Phantasm again recently. It's all fresh in my mind, and the one thing I have to say is I enjoyed Dark Knight Returns a lot more than I thought. I'm not terribly familiar with the actual source material of the comic, so I'm not sure how faithful it is to the comic, but I will say plot-wise, it's a little bit convoluted for me, and that's not so much a bad thing. I like how complex it is. It's not a kiddie story. It's dark, and I like the political undertones as well, but I feel like the missile crisis section, especially when we see Superman, taking out those Soviets. I mean, I know it's important to the context of the story, but it just, for me, for that film in particular, the Dark Knight Returns Part 2, it kind of took away from what I felt was like the main conflict with Joker, and when Superman eventually fights Batman, I just felt like that, what's that island called, AJ? Maltese, the courts.
I can't remember it.
But yeah, that island, the whole concept of that island was very distracting for me. But I will say, I understand the importance of that. What was it?
Corto Maltese.
Corto Maltese, yeah. So I understand the importance of the nuclear missile that does kind of set things off, and it has Batman set his sights on Superman. I totally get that. I just felt like in that hour time frame, we spent a lot of time there, and I think it could have been done differently, in my opinion. But I will say, like I said, I enjoyed The Dark Knight Returns. I enjoyed it a lot. I did enjoy Part 1 a little bit more, but at the same time, correct me if I'm wrong, AJ, are those mutants? Are those deep in Batman lore? I'm not deep in his comics, so
it's not really deep in the Batman lore, but it's very specific in the Dark Knight.
Okay. So that's something I wasn't terribly familiar with, and I mean they were pretty funny, but that whole I don't know, that whole like mutant leader thing, like he was really cool, but I was just like, who is this guy? Like I just wasn't familiar with him, right? And I will say this, there's a little bit of nostalgia when it comes to the Mask of the Phantasm. Admittedly, I saw it when I was a kid, and I was a big fan of the animated series. So, I mean, I'm a little bit biased in that sense, but what I will say is, what gets me about Mask of the Phantasm, it's not so much the fantastic action, it's definitely 100% the emotional relationships, especially like seeing that other side of Bruce. Like, yeah, like he's really badass in Dark Knight Returns, but it was kind of cool seeing him balance. Like, damn, like I love this woman, and maybe I don't have to do this anymore. And I love that scene where he's talking to his parents, and he's like, it doesn't hurt as bad as it used to. Like, am I allowed to be happy? And I like that question because like you have to imagine it's not easy being a superhero. So to see that conflict on film, especially in the 90s, like that's just huge. Especially I saw it as a kid and that went over my head, but seeing it now, it's like I really understand the conflict. So I like the emotional weight better, and I also liked how Dibes was saying, I liked how the Mask of the Phantasm really dug into the Joker. Nothing against the Joker in Dark Knight Returns Part 2, but he did feel like kind of an afterthought, and it felt kind of anticlimactic once they killed him off. I was like, damn, that's it. And so it kind of left me hanging. In terms of grades, I'll give the entire Dark Knight Returns story, I'll give it an 8 for its political undertones and for the darkness and the sheer savagery we see with Bruce Wayne, because he is a savage. Like, I feel like his moral code went out the freaking window when he returned.
Yeah.
He was out for blood, man. And the way he pounded on the mutant leader and just that was epic, man. That's one of the most intense scenes I've ever seen with the mutant gang watching, and he's just pummeling that mutant's face. That was nuts. I'll give it an 8, but in terms of the emotional weight that I felt the Phantasm did better, I'll give that a 9.
All right, AJ, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I actually agree with all of your points. For me, Mask of the Phantasm and Dark Knight Returns are polar opposites. One is more political, and it's definitely a tougher watch because it has all these philosophical meanings behind it that not many people will really pay attention to unless you watch like 5-6 times. With Mask of the Phantasm, though, I think for me it's a much simpler story, but it's still as much as effective as the Dark Knight. I do love the love/mystery aspect of Mask of the Phantasm. Seeing for me, when I first watched it, I had no clue who it was. But that was when I was like 6-7 years old. But I thought it was really cool to have like a female villain that was on par in skill with Batman. You don't really see that. Very
she beat Joker's ass.
Yeah, she really did. So for that, I think Mask of the Phantasm is still ahead of its time, and before that, it was still ahead of its time. So I'm gonna give the story for that one a 10 out of 10. With Dark Knight, Dark Knight Returns, I feel like it is a little bit confusing. But it does, once you start to understand it, start to understand the complexities of the philosophy of it, where weak versus the strong, and the philosophy of the gang leader, I felt like was really cool. The afterthought, for me, I think the Joker was as the afterthought was fine with me because his time has passed as much as Batman's time has passed, and it's been hinted throughout Part 1 and Part 2. You're too old. It's time for the new people to be ahead, and I love that the fight with the gang leader, the mutant leader with Batman. It just tells you that the mutant leader is stronger, faster, and more powerful than Batman, but Batman still has that knowledge to one up the mutant leader, and I feel like that was a great representation of sometimes knowledge is better than strength and so on. So for me, I'm still going to give Dark Knight Returns a 10 out of 10 because it's so complex, and for me, I really love complex stories.
All right, Ryan, you're up, man.
Honestly, I don't think anyone really didn't touch on anything here. I completely agree with you all. This is really tough for me because I actually don't have any really sentimental value with Mask of the Phantasm. I watched all 3 films within the past month for the very first time, not really knowing what really happened in them. So going into Mask of the Phantasm, the only thing I knew was it was highly acclaimed and people loved it. But going through it, I'm like, this movie is more methodically thought out and paced because it wants to discover more of not the nitty gritty side that we get in The Dark Knight Returns. We get more of him questioning whether he wants to be Batman anymore because he finally is in love with this woman and he doesn't want to screw it up. And he realizes that if he doesn't want to screw it up, he has to make the ultimate choice, her or the cape. And I think that asks a really good question at the end of the day. Would you do anything or stop doing anything for the one person you love? And Bruce was gonna do it. And I had no clue who the Mask of the Phantasm was in the film. So I was thoroughly shocked when I found out it was the girlfriend. And I really enjoyed that. I really didn't think about, I think this came out in 93, right? 1993, 96, around there.
You're right, 93.
Okay, 93. I didn't think at first that it came out in 93 because I forgot about it. Then I started thinking about it. I'm like, wow, this movie is a little bit ahead of its time for 1993, having a woman villain, especially in an animation film of all things too. And the story is a little bit slower, which might stink for a few people because people hear Batman, they expect kicking ass, taking names, and just being a bad guy or like a badass in general. And this movie kind of takes it back a little bit and explores more of his heart than his soul, which I really enjoy. So I'm going to give Mask of the Phantasm a 9.5. And then we get into The Dark Knight Returns. This film is a little bit easier to nitpick more than Mask of the Phantasm for me for a little bit more than obvious reasons. Just like everyone else, I prefer the first part over the second one. The first part just feels more coherent. It feels more well paced because by the time we get to the second part, the Soviet part with them shooting the nuke at us or the place we just said, and then him fighting Superman all happens within an amount of the last 15 minutes out of an hour and a half movie. And the movie starts off where the first one ended, really, if you want to say another movie at the end of the day. They make it really confusing too with part 1 and part 2 because I felt like this movie could have had a part 3 if they really wanted to dig out the story a little bit more with the whole Soviets and the Superman type storyline. But I feel like this movie in general just does a really good job at showing us about how much Bruce Wayne has kind of just given up on everybody. Oh, geez, beer. And he kind of just gave up on everybody. He doesn't really care anymore. He just does whatever he wants. It's not like he really listened to the law before, but now he's got more of the fuck the law mentality than he ever has. It's definitely a more darker, grittier tone than Mask of the Phantasm. And just like AJ said, this is more of a political thriller compared to Mask of the Phantasm, as the Phantasm is a type of, I don't want to say soap opera, but love story. So that's really where you differentiate the two of them. I definitely also agree with the Joker's role in The Dark Knight Returns. Didn't really feel needed, and he kind of was a bit wasteful when they could have built more towards the Soviets, the Batman gang, the Superman type interactions with him, and more of the government stuff too between Batman and everyone really wanted to go after him. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wish we saw more of the Batman gang throughout both parts because I found that really intriguing. They didn't really dig deep enough into it for me. So I'm gonna give, yeah, exactly. And that's where I really like the ending of the film. And it kind of makes me want a sequel that we're probably never gonna get. But you know what? the movie is pretty consistent with its tone, its story, what it's trying to tell the audience. I'm going to give the same grade as Low and go with an 8 out of 10 on this one.
I will argue for the Joker part. I think it was necessary because we get to see Batman's breaking point. I think that was needed to go through what Batman felt with Superman, and we did get that conflict a little bit before the fight.
AJ, and I get that, but I feel like nowadays with most of the Batman stuff, they rely a lot on just the Joker specifically breaking Batman. I think I might have wanted to see a little bit more different way of it, but the Joker's the Joker, so I'm not going to say no to the Joker, but it just felt like something that I've seen in different movies before, which is not a bad thing, but it's also not the best thing in terms of story. But like I said, that's my own personal opinion.
Yeah, but I also remember that for the gang leader, sorry, I don't know why I keep saying gang leader. The mutant leader, also showed Batman's breaking point on the physical level.
Exactly. I probably would have preferred to see more of the Mutant King or whatever it is bring Batman to more of his breaking point, because if I remember correctly, it was him to bring Batman to his breaking point before the Joker did in the film. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like they influenced his role a little bit more in the beginning than they did the Joker. And then there's kind of like, here's the Joker. Let's just have him break the Batman all of a sudden. But I see where you're coming from, and I completely agree. Just out of preferability, I probably would have rather see the Mutant King bring Batman to his breaking point over the Joker, especially with where the story was going to. But
can I touch on one more thing?
yeah,
I loved when Gotham's power went out.
yeah.
And Batman rides up on a freaking horse and like, I am the law.
Like, great.
I wish we got more of that.
You guys listen to me, not the cops.
Exactly. He was like, this is what we're gonna do.
Dude, it was fantastic. That's like Batman right there.
I am the law.
Not the cops.
I wish we got more of that, man.
Go on.
Yeah. Last comment, AJ, and then we'll go on to animation.
Okay, I also love there's one parallel between Mask of the Phantasm and Dark Knight Returns, which is with Mask of the Phantasm, it shows Batman struggling to either become Batman or choosing love over Batman. And with Dark Knight Returns, he struggles of staying in retirement or becoming Batman again. And in that one scene where he says, "You're just a shell," basically, and that just tells me that he still wants to be Batman, but he's still struggling, and he knows he's getting too old to still be Batman. But that's what I noticed between the two that I really loved.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
He's frozen.
Oh, yeah. Poor Deebs.
I was like waiting for his response.
So are we taking like all of our scores and like adding them up?
I'm not keeping track of your guys's, but I'm actually keeping track of mine and see how it goes. I'm kind of freestyling it. So
I'm right.
Deebs, are we taking the scores and adding them up, or kind of just? Okay, yeah, I figured you would be.
I got it. I figured you would be. My internet is pooped tonight. I don't know what is going on right now.
It's all good, man. All good.
It's just going in and out, so I apologize. All right, let's. Geekly Goods is here. Cannot wait for DC Fandom live streaming with Geekly Goods tomorrow. That's going to be so much fun.
How many of y'all are going? How many of y'all are doing it? Is it just y'all 3 or 4?
I know it's me, these two, Isaac, Gabe, and a few other people.
Loaded.
Damn,
yeah, I checked when I first checked.
There's different guests for each one, but it's loaded. Like I'm not.
Oh, okay. So I got you.
Yeah, I'm only on to help
on most of them, but
got you.
Yeah,
I was like, y'all all doing that for 24 hours or 18 hours? Like that's crazy.
Loretto, I hope you know that I'm Ryan W. Out of curiosity.
Yeah. All right, Geekly Good says he loves Draft Squad with Teen Titans, Under the Red Hood, and Batman Beyond. Oh man, that will start tomorrow around like 10 a.m. ish. I'm gonna get that out right before
Oh,
DC
with the polls?
Fandom kicks off. Yep.
Cool.
I'm going against you, Ryan. I'm gonna get slaughtered. It is what it is. All right. And Keekly Good says, would y'all say Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns was the best Batman graphic novel? At least the most important. It's got to be up there. Any takes on that, guys?
I might argue.
I'm not going to talk on this one because I'm not a big comic book reader, so I'll let you guys talk about this one.
I have no idea. Maybe
AJ would give us the definitive statement.
for me, it's definitely like top 3 or 5. But I love Batman. R.I.P. I felt like that one was really strong. Batman.
I really like Year One.
Year One is incredible too.
Like that, I'm really like. I don't know. That one's hard to top.
I heard The Long Halloween was really good too.
Long Halloween. I think that's my favorite out of any.
I think a lot of people agree with you.
Gotham by Gaslight might be my favorite. Then it's Long Halloween. I love the steampunk element of Gotham by Gaslight. But we can keep going.
Ryan is joining and says, yo, what's up, Ryan? Thanks for joining so much.
You're welcome.
You're doing great dives. I clearly haven't seen that tonight. The Sixers are down 3-0. It's a brutal night. My basketball team is not doing so hot. All right, let's move on to animation, guys. We're talking visuals. I'll lead off with Mask of the Phantasm, just the animated series, Mask of the Phantasm. This is a medium that always found a knack for creating like the environment, making it feel real, finding characters that really fit perfectly in this amazing world. The animation's incredible. It has these dark gothic tones that fit Batman to a T. It's just it makes it just fantastic, but also realistic at the same time. The mood, the atmosphere is just simply a masterpiece. It's just the crisp, stylish designs are just absolutely fantastic. I'm going 10 out of 10 for visuals of Mask of the Phantasm. This is a movie that still holds up today. Going to Dark Knight Returns, the animation is great. It doesn't have like the noir themes of Mask of the Phantasm that I love, but it does a really good job of capturing that like dying dark world of Gotham City. The atmosphere is really strong. I don't think I consider it more disturbing than dark for me. So I think the animation with Dark Knight Returns is at its best during the action scenes. That's when I think it really, really takes off in the Dark Knight Returns. It's just a very bloody movie. You see, eyes being gouged out and bones breaking, and it's definitely a different, completely different movie than Mask of the Phantasm, obviously. So I'm going with Mask of the Phantasm here. I think this is a movie that just ages a lot better than Dark Knight Returns. I will give Dark Knight Returns an 8 out of 10. Go ahead, Loretto.
This is what's really going to be interesting for me, especially when I was comparing the actual visuals. I love the introduction to Mask of the Phantasm. When you're just going through the city and you really capture Gotham in its tragic, dark, grimy like tones, and the score is incredible, which we'll get to later. I will say though, Dark Knight Returns for me has a little bit of an edge because like the animation itself is like HD and there's some CG mixed in.
Came out 10 years later.
Yeah, so I mean that part's almost not fair, but if we're just being honest, like visually, Dark Knight Returns is definitely more captivating. Like it's definitely more like eye-popping, especially like you said when it comes to the action. I also really liked like the more subtle scenes, like going through Crime Alley and like seeing like the flickering of the light. In that sense, kind of gave me a little bit like a film noir vibe. And the racing scene in the beginning of Dark Knight Returns, like just the way the cars moved on the freeway. And what's interesting is like DCAU in general has some of their films, especially the Batman ones, almost has a little bit of like anime-ish like feels to it at times.
Yeah.
With the shading and the way that the characters look, which is really interesting to me. Honestly, I gotta give the edge to Dark Knight Returns here. I think in terms of animation, I'll give it a solid 9.5. And then I'm gonna drop Mask of Phantasm down a little bit lower just because the animation didn't age as well. I'm gonna drop it down to 8.5. But honestly, for its time, it still looks pretty good.
All right, let's roll to AJ, man. Go ahead, dude.
Yeah, with Mask of the I recently just watched Mask of the Phantasm, and to see the animation on that, I feel like it really aged well. Batman animated series as well. I think both of those two really aged well. But with Dark Knight Returns, I feel like I agree with Lo right here. For me, the details is much crisper than Mask of the Phantasm, from the car races to the shadows between the fights, all of that, the mud, just everything. But for me, I think one thing that's over is the artistic style of Mask of the Phantasm. I feel like it's a little bit higher than Batman Dark Knight Returns. But for me, I'm gonna give Dark Knight Returns a 9.5, and the animation for Mask of the Phantasm, I'll give like a 8.5.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Go ahead, Bat Nipples.
Low, stop.
Every time.
Stop. That's the one thing about these animated films I wish they had was more bat nipples, but that's besides the point. That was besides the point, especially with the credit card.
We had swastika nipples.
Oh my god!
Oh, the Bruno.
Oh my god! No, but I gotta agree with Lo and AJ. I feel like the Dark Knight Returns, the animation is just a lot smoother, especially on the screens that we have nowadays. I feel like when it comes to animation, it's not more so the animation gets worse and is outdated. I just think our technology is just so much more advanced than it was back when that came out, that it's just a little bit harder to run than they originally did. But that's not to undermine the good animation of Mask of the Phantasm. I'm gonna keep this one a little bit short and clean. I'm gonna go with an 8 for Mask of the Phantasm and a 9.5 for Dark Knight Returns.
For me, the DC, I'm gonna have to disagree with Lo with how DC animation feels a little animated. I don't agree with that per se, because for me, I think with anime it runs much cleaner than DC animated. I think because it runs on a slower frame rate, if that makes sense. So everything's more sped up and smoother than what DC has put out. And with Sony's animation with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is one of the best artistically out of any animation, I feel like. I think DC animation isn't on par with that. Actually, the newer animation with DC, I feel like has downgraded from the older DC animated series, from the artistic style or just animation in general. So, but that's just me.
Can I just say one more thing? One thing, because I rated Mask of the Phantasm lower, but I gotta say I really do like the character design too, and that goes back to the animated series. But like the way the Joker looks versus how he looks in Dark Knight Returns, the way like the Phantasm looks, I just really like the character design there. Or even like going like Commissioner Gordon, like how he looks in the animated series to Dark Knight Returns when I hold them next to each other. I don't know. There's something about that simplistic style that works for the story. So.
It's because with I think with Mask of the Phantasm, they relied more on the artistic style than animation because they weren't up there with the technology at the time. So I felt like they more relied on the artistic style.
We have Manda saying, I have to catch up on the animated films for sure. I thought one of the most interesting things to come out of the draft last night was a watch party of Doom. I think we should all do that. That'd be really, really fun.
Hell yeah.
I haven't seen it, so that
would be really fun. I think that'd be cool. Kind of just
we have so many watch parties. Holy crap.
Geekly Good says that the Into the Spider-Verse animated was animated every 2 or 3 frames. That's what gives it such a static.
Well, I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to talk about that. I think
I want a quick note, and then you can go, man. Mask of the Phantasm was made within a year, and for the time, that's insane. For how quality the art is, I think that's insane. Go ahead, AJ. Sorry.
Yeah, with the 2 or 3 frames, I think that was only Miles itself, which is fantastic because everything else ran faster. And I love why they did that, because story-wise, it made sense. because Miles was the least experienced. So of course he would have a little bit of a static feel than Peter Parker or Gwen Stacy or anybody else for that matter. So with that, I love why they changed the frame rate with Miles specifically, because it made sense with the story.
Love it. All right, let's move on to. Oh, sorry, Amanda. I didn't mean to cut you off there. Spider-Verse is amazing. The animation was wild. I mean, it's incredible, just the greatest. Let's go on to memorable moments. I'll lead us off. Mask of the Phantasm, man. I gotta go straight to that intro where you see Batman putting on the suit for the first time, and you see like Alfred like trembling, like. And meanwhile, you see the main theme like starting up in the background, man. Just what an epic fucking moment. Another epic fucking moment is, of course, Mark Hamill's Joker. This film is by far one of Mark Hamill's best performances. The dude is absolutely terrifying in this one. And, you know, this guy was 1 year into the Joker at the time. It was his film debut. It was a character that was really accurate to the character's comic book origins. And just that laugh. In terms of memorable moments, like that's where this movie really cemented that laugh. There was like a 30-second segment, like in that second act where you really feel the laugh, and it was just gives me goosebumps every single time. On Bruce Wayne's end, you know, Bruce cowering to his parents' painting, and you know, at the foot of his parents' grave, just questioning, what does he deserve? Just such a touching scene. I give memorable moments for Mask of Phantasm an 8 out of 10. And this, I think, is where The Dark Knight Returns shines. This is like where it's absolutely incredible. Batman dressed up as grandma. A girl with swastika tits. Batman doing his best Judge Dredd impression, telling Gotham citizens, "I am the law." Like, I mean, you know, just, first up, Dark Knight Returns, like that final fight between Batman and the mutant leader, such a signature moment for Batman. And just, you know, that final moment of part one where the Joker realizing that Batman is back. He's the yin to Batman's yang. Just, you know, they need each other. And that took me like straight to like Vision's statement from Age of Ultron. Like, our strength invites challenge incites conflict breeds catastrophe. And that's like kind of what I love, how Mask of the Phantasm understands Joker. And for as brief as Joker was in The Dark Knight Returns, they really understand the characters here. Like, that there will never be a winner or anything good that comes out of Batman and Joker. Like, it'll always end in flames, which literally happens in Mask of the Phantasm. So that's kind of why I picked Killing Joke in last night's draft. Like, these are two characters that rely on each other. The one doesn't come without the other. So I just love the Batman scene where he takes down the 30 policemen. That was so Arkham Asylum. That was so much fun. And just, you know, so many memorable moments in Dark Knight Returns. 10 out of 10. Go ahead, Lo.
So what's funny is I'm looking at my scores and they're tied up right now, but this is where things are starting to break. Going to Massive Phantasm, I have three things. I really liked seeing the young Bruce Wayne, especially at the time, because of Batman 89, you know, Tim Burton was like, nah, don't worry about his origin. He's just Batman. And so for Mask of the Phantasm, when I saw it when I was young, we got to see a little bit of him. He didn't even have his mask yet. I loved how he was trying to stop those thugs, and he was like, put your hands up, belly down. And they were like, what? Like, he was just wearing like a robber mask, and he was like, come on. And they were like, all right, kung fu, and they were gadded up. But what's interesting is it was a little bit of year one there, and I also liked how for me, what I really remembered was the terror. Being little, you know, that film is honestly, it's not. It gets marketed as a kid's film, but it's really not. It has a lot of dark moments. No. Joker murders people. The Phantasm was creepy as hell with his voice and the smoke. I am the angel of death, you know, and it's just like, damn. And like, I really loved Mark Hamill's portrayal as Joker is just intense. His laugh, it's insane. And then when he what's his name, Arthur, when he gets Arthur with the laughing toxin, that creeped me out when he couldn't stop laughing, and Batman's interrogating him, and he's like, and he's just hysterical, and it's like, God, it gets under your skin. And I mean, again, I know that he wasn't the main focus in Dark Knight Returns, but like Joker is just so amazing in this film, and a lot of it is because of Mark Hamill. He just does an incredible job. That's memorable for me. But going to the Dark Knight Returns, I mean, it's just from the when Batman's like fleeing the cops, when he beats up the Mean Lair, like we mentioned, when he comes back on horseback, like I mentioned, but also, I mean, just like Dobbs was saying, that fight with Superman, it makes me so mad because it's so damn good and it's so freaking exciting. I just wish, sorry, Amanda, I wish that we could have got a little bit of that in the live action, but you know, it is what it is. The live action fight with them wasn't terrible, but kind of comparing it to this version, it's like, it's just like the possibility of what they could have done.
There was no context in Batman vs Superman.
Well said.
Pretty much.
But yeah, you know what? So like I said, they're both really memorable for me, but I gotta give it to Dark Knight Returns here. I'm gonna give it a 10 in terms of memorable moments. I mean, those are just iconic moments for me. And then for Mask of the Phantasm, I'm gonna give it more of a 9.
All right, AJ.
Yeah, for one of the most memorable moments for me in Mask of the Phantasm was when Bruce figures out that his girlfriend was the Phantasm, and when he goes back to the Batcave, I really enjoyed that talk between him and Alfred, and they were talking about how one went down the path and just fell straight down, and the other went down that same path but still is going forward and trying to be the best that he can be. And I really enjoyed that scene. With Batman Dark Knight Returns, there's too many scenes to count with memorable scenes. You got the Batman versus Superman fight where he just says, I want you to know the one man that beat you, and then bitched out and fake died. I love that. I love that so much. The fight between the mutant leader, I thought that was fantastic choreography. Just seeing how strategic Batman really is when it comes to fighting. Those are the two main ones for me. So I'm gonna give Mask of the Phantasm 9.5 out of 10, and Dark Knight Returns 10 out of 10.
All right, Ryan, you're up, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to like, I really don't want to keep repeating all the moments you guys said because you guys all just had great moments. But I'm going to just say one from the Mask of the Phantasm that you actually touched on, Deebs, was when Bruce is in the Batman costume and he's standing over his parents' grave, is when his girlfriend kind of starts figuring out that that's Bruce Wayne. I thought that was a really powerful moment on him questioning like where he's going with his next phase in life. And his next phase is Batman, whether he wants to be Batman or wants to be Bruce Wayne and just live a happier life and not having to feel the weight of saving Gotham City on his shoulders. And then with the Dark Knight Returns, one that I don't think one of you mentioned was the final Batman versus Joker fight when Batman finally beats Joker, pretty much beats him to a pulp, then blast the bitch to fucking flames, dude. Dude, I thought it was fantastic. And even I don't remember what he said word for word, but I remember after he put him on fire, he's like, even while burning, he's still laughing. And it just cuts to the Joker with a giant smiley face as his skin is just pouring off his skeleton. I thought that was a great scene, but also you got the Batman versus Superman scene. Even when Superman stop the missile from hitting whatever the name of the place is again, and you just see his kind of decrepit body floating, and the next thing you know, he's fighting Batman. And then even though they fought, Superman still has that respect for Batman at the end of the movie, which I've always appreciated with their relationship. They might not always agree on the same things, but they have a mutual respect for one another, which is always fantastic. Just because of how much more memorable moments the movie has, I'm just gonna say The Dark Knight is a 9, and then The Mask of the Phantasm has just a lot more meaningful moments, more than just more moments like The Dark Knight has. So I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10.
All right, Phantasm 8.5.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I
Amanda,
touch on one more thing real quick? I actually forgot to mention it, but
no.
real quick, because I did drop Mask of the Phantasm down a little bit, but I gotta say, like, there's not a wasted shot in it. Just like you were saying, Dibes, like they did it quickly, but they did it with intent. For example, there's a lot of foreshadowing. Like, if you look in the beginning of the film, you actually see the Joker when Andrea's father is having the meeting with the mob bosses, but you don't realize it's the Joker just yet. At least it's not implied yet. Also, like the World of Tomorrow, where Joker's hideout is, you see it in its glory. It's like a Disneyland, like World's Fair-esque type of like beautiful ride. And then later, it's Joker's hideout with the weird little maid thing, the wife with the knife.
Yeah.
I just loved how like you saw the before and after, and it was all decrepit later. And yeah, I just thought the foreshadowing was really nice in that.
Yeah, the last scene there where you have Superman at Batman's funeral, and I don't know who asked him. I don't know if it was Alfred or what, but someone asked Superman like, "Were you, or is it Clark Kent?" I don't know.
It was Commissioner Gordon.
Was it Commissioner Gordon? Like, are you a close friend of Batman or Bruce Wayne? And he's like, I don't really know. And I was like, that was such a really great moment. Like, just understands the character absolutely perfectly.
I like how Jim understood. He was like, "Huh, makes sense."
Yeah. But that's always been Jim when he ever like found out his identity. He kind of just like, wow, that kind of just makes sense. It like doesn't phase him very much because they're just so one and the same when he really puts the personalities together. Jim's fucking great.
So good.
You know what? Just to touch on that, I love that he really got to shine in The Dark Knight Returns. Like, it was kind of cool seeing like the first film. It was a lot of it was just weighing on his retirement.
Yeah.
And I love at the end, he was like, Bruce, good luck. You're gonna need it because he's done. He's out of the game. So
Mandy here says this is a BVS hate-free zone. No, it's not. That's not never.
Dude, no zone is a BVS hate zone.
I don't hate BVS. I think it's average.
I think it's fine. I don't hate it. That's
ACS Universe is here. Says, what's good? What's up, man?
What's going on, man?
Yeah. All right, let's go on to our next category, which is rewatchability. Like, how would you watch this movie over and over and over again? And let's break it down. I'll lead with Mask of the Phantasm. I think this is just a movie with that nostalgia factor, man. That just is really big for me. This is the origin of Batman wanting to strike fear in his enemies. Like, the fact that Phantasm like also has that detective aspect intact really hits home for me. The world's greatest detective, guys. Like, this is like the single biggest reason why I am so excited about Matt Reeves' The Batman. We're gonna finally get to that. It's just something that we haven't. So, just at the end when you see Batman glide across the night sky and before the credits hit, like, we understand who Batman is. We understand his renewed life's purpose. We understand the world he exists in. It's just perfect. And it's all those things go into just a movie that I can watch over and over and over again. And I didn't even touch on Mark Hamill's Joker. 9 out of 10 for me. Dark Knight Returns. I think this one just boils down to taste, guys. Like, obviously these aren't really kids movies, but like these are just two movies that really understand Batman and Batman's mythos, and these two are two films that really understand the characters through and through. There's obviously, I think you touched on it, AJ. Like, there's a lot of social commentary in this movie. I'll say they're just so different. Two very different Batmans. On one hand, we have a Batman who's like contemplating his own identity and purpose. On the other end, we have a Batman who seems to enjoy kicking the shit out of motherfuckers. So I'll go 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 for Mask of the Phantasm. 8 out of 10 for Dark Knight Returns.
That was the best way to promote Dark Knight Returns. Batman does not give a fuck.
Language.
No. Loretta, you're up.
I'm just kidding. All right, so man, I'm just watching if I'm reacting, if you guys see this, I'm like tallying my scores right now, and I'm like, oh wow. I didn't do it before. I'm doing it now. It's kind of like wild. So this, okay, how do I explain this? So in terms of like the film, I gotta give it to Mask of the Phantasm. I think especially because I rewatched it like a few months ago for the superhero draft.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, I forgot how good this was. I hadn't seen it in a long time. I watched it again today and I'm just like, God, it's just so good. And just as a film, I can't not like, I watched it in pieces before and I hated myself for doing that because it just flows so well. And as a film, like, it's the kind of film I'd rather watch it from beginning to end and just enjoy the experience, if that makes sense. If we talk about Dark Knight Returns, I'm not saying I can't do that, but to be honest, I will probably find myself fast forwarding to the Batman versus Superman fight, or even the scene where he's getting chased by the cops and like, you know, he's old and grizzled and he's beating the crap out of the cops too. And he's on the run. Like, it's just the action's so dang good in Dark Knight Returns. And there's some parts of the story that I didn't care for as much. So I think I would return to singular moments in Dark Knight Returns, but as a whole, I would rather watch the entire Mask of the Phantasm film. I feel like it works better as a film. And maybe that's a detriment to the way that the animated film for Dark Knight Returns was written, because I'm sure the graphic novel is incredible. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. For that reason alone, I'm going to give this to Mask of the Phantasm. I'm giving it a 9 in terms of rewatchability. For Dark Knight Returns, I'm going to give it more of like an 8.
All right. We have Chad here. It says, "Whoa, dives! You kiss your mother with that mouth." Love you, Chad. I think you nailed it, Loretto. I think like Dark Knight Returns is a movie that I watch clips on YouTube. You know, Mask of the Phantasm is a movie I'll watch from beginning to end. All right, go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, this is tough for me right here. I think for me, all the best movies, if it's strong enough, I think you only need to watch it once. And Dark Knight Returns is that movie. You have Whiplash, you have 12 Years a Slave, all for me perfect movies. And technically I've only watched them once because they're so hard to watch. They're strong, powerful. It keeps me thinking. I think that's one of the things that helps you not watch it again, is that not that rewatchability, but just keep thinking about it. For me, with Dark Knight Returns, I just keep thinking about it and thinking about it. Doesn't matter how long it is. But with Mask of the Phantasm, I can turn my brain off with that movie. Like I said before, it's more simple than It's more simple than Dark Knight Returns, in a philosophy sense. So I think Mask of the Phantasm is more rewatchable, even though I think Dark Knight Returns is a better movie. I'll give Mask of the Phantasm a 10 and Dark Knight Return a 7.
All right, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, just like all of you, this is another tough one for me. I feel like it's really hard to like really think about this one. On the forefront, the Mask of the Phantasm is just a lot easier because one, it's one singular film, it's not two. And then on top of that, the story is just so well paced through that one film, you can just keep rewatching it. But The Dark Knight Returns has so many good moments in it that it's just hard not to rewatch it, with the Batman fight, the gangs and all that, the Batman gang, the mutant gang, fucking the Joker, there's so many great things in that movie, but the problem is there's so many different voids within that film that don't connect it as well as the Mask of the Phantom connects as a whole movie. So I'm going to give Phantasm a 9 and The Dark Knight an 8.
We're rolling, guys. Next category is overall movie grade, just how you think this movie would be out of 10. You know, I'll start with Mask of the Phantasm. What's that?
Film scores?
No.
I thought we were doing score too.
No, like the music score.
I don't think I had music score.
Oh shit! I just read that wrong. I just read that
it.
wrong. I'm so sorry. I read
it
wrong.
as the score.
I read it as like the film score.
I'll be quick. Mask of the Phantasm has the best score in any Batman film.
I'll go with what AJ says.
There's that.
What AJ says. Let's not count it though. Let's not count it.
Yeah,
I was so confused.
That like choir version of the main theme in the beginning, man, is just
dun, dun, dun.
I don't even remember the Dark Knight Returns.
And when the girlfriend takes her mask off to reveal herself, it's fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Great score.
All right, so this is overall film score. Like, how would you grade this movie out of 10? I'll lead us off. So, like as I mentioned earlier, like Batman doing detective work is god tier. It's an area that just needs to be more fleshed out on screen. I cannot wait for the Batman. Fingers crossed we get that with like Calendar Man, and can't wait. The tragic love story of Bruce Wayne and Andrea Beaumont is just simply an all-timer. It's a film that is a sweeping detective story that I just have absolutely fallen in love with it over and over and over again. I'm in my mid-30s. I grew up with it, so obviously I'm biased to this. There's no secret here. This movie cost $6 million to make. This movie was made in less than a year. The fact that Mask of the Phantasm worked so well, I don't think anyone expected it at the time. It was just a movie that was just so far ahead of the game at the time. And it's really the closest, Batman has ever gotten to capturing just who and what Batman is about and what makes him tick. So 9.5 out of 10 for Mask of the Phantasm. Dark Knight Returns, similar to Phantasm, it really deep dives kind of into who Batman is and what he stands for. I guess, Phantasm is his tragedy. Well, Dark Knight Returns kind of ends on this like positive note. He spent years looking for a good death, but he's now going to have this good life. So they're very different in that respect. Great moment. I just got to give it to Mask of the Phantasm. And we already touched on the film score. That is important to me. I am a huge film score guy. So I give Dark Knight Returns a 9 out of 10 and a 9.5 out of 10 to Mask of the Phantasm. Go ahead, though.
So, interestingly enough, I was laughing at my notes when I added the film scores too. It ended up being 45.5 versus 43.5, which is pretty accurate.
No, no.
But in terms of like, if I had to just throw all the categories out the window and just grade it, I would give Mask of the Phantasm a 10. It's just such a phenomenal storytelling for an animated film of its time. It really brought like cinematic feels for real to that genre, and as a kid, you feel like Batman's untouchable, but I loved how in the Mask of the Phantasm you see him broken, you see him question himself, and when the cops are chasing him, he actually is on the verge of like collapsing. He took off his mask, he used it as a decoy, he's bleeding, he's like, he's all beat up. And Andrea actually saves him with the car. I don't know if you guys remember that. Mm-hmm. And then also, like, you see him at the edge too, and the Joker does get that out of him. I loved how when he jumps on the Joker, when he's like flying through the air, and Joker's like, "Are you crazy? You're gonna kill both of us." And he's like, "Whatever it takes." And again, like, shout out to Kevin Conroy, man. I mean, overall, that all the voice casting there. I mean, Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy play off each other so well. Yeah, I got to give it a 10. And nothing against Dark Knight Returns. I actually enjoyed it a lot. I mean, the intensity of those moments, and I really liked like me and AJ were talking about earlier. There's a lot of like, there's so many deeper things to this. Like seeing like the debates of Batman on TV, which it was interesting. They had Lana Lang, and then she was debating with that other guy, and he was like, "Batman, he's a criminal," and then she's like, "No, but he saves us," and it's like. It's interesting. It's kind of like Batman versus Superman, where it's like those are interesting conversations to have. Like, do we need Batman? Do we need Superman? And the morality of what they do, like, especially at that point when Batman's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna kill everybody. I'm at the end of my rope. So this is the end. I gotta give that one an 8 overall. So.
Quick, like, memorable moment I just remembered. Like, I love how this movie, Dark Knight Returns, especially, just how they emphasize Batman as this like mythical creature. Like, you see when Batman comes back and everyone's like scared shitless, like,
yeah.
And it's like, I love that concept of like, Batman is more than just a man. Batman is this.
He's a legend. He's an yes.
He's an idea. Like, that really is nailed home in Dark Knight Returns. Sorry.
Real quick, I feel like we haven't even talked about her, but I actually enjoyed Carrie Kelly. I thought she was like a pretty fun Robin, and it threw me off. This is how I knew Bruce went over the edge. When he was like, Alfred was like, "Hey, what about Jason? Like, why are you taking this girl in?" And he was like, "Yeah, but Robin's a soldier, and the war goes on." And then, like, even later in Dark Knight Returns Part 2, he's like, "Good soldier to Carrie," and it's just like, God, like, he doesn't care. He's putting this little girl's life on the line. Like, he needs to get his mission done. So I just thought that was crazy.
For me, I thought with Kelly's character, I thought that she was a second chance to Bruce. She was the second chance with Robin, his mistake with Robin. So I think even though he still considered her as a soldier, I felt like that he still cared for her. That's why he had that scene where he was in that. It wasn't a parachute. I forgot what it's called. Glider, I think. Where he just hugs her and says, "Good soldier." I felt like he cared for her, and I think that was very emotional for me, at least.
Yep.
He's also trying to keep up that front at the same time while also trying to show her that he's not all just brooding and hey, let's go kill this person, let's go kill that person. So yeah, it's a nice touch.
I also love the dynamic of like, by the way, if you don't listen to me, you're fired.
But that was at the beginning, though.
He said it like 10 times. If you touch this, you're fired.
Listen to me. Do not be like Jason Todd. Basically,
do not leave this helicopter. Or
and if you do, you will more than likely die.
But I love that. I love that she disobeyed her to save him, though, and I think he liked that as well, and that's why he just accepted her in that time.
Hey, remember she asked him, she's like, "Am I fired?" He's like,
yeah.
No,
you're good. You're good.
All right, AJ, total film grade. Sorry.
Mask of the Phantasm. There's a lot of things that's perfect with that movie, but there's one thing that I have an issue with, and sometimes there are cringy moments in it. I love the love scene, love moments in it, but sometimes it just felt a little bit cringy, especially in the I think it was
90s.
Yeah,
that's the best way to put it.
Yeah. It was the scene where Bruce Wayne and the I forgot his name were talking about the girlfriend, and he got jealous real fast and then went into his in his room and then just started pouting. I was like, okay, I like it, but it's a little cringy. I didn't get any cringy moments from Dark Knight Returns. No. There's way too many badass scenes. I think there was a couple great meaningful moments in Dark Knight Returns. I'm giving Dark Knight Returns a 9.7 out of 10, and I'll give Mask of the Phantasm 8 out of 10 because I'm just not a fan of cringiness, and I felt like that one scene just. That's why I'm not like a big fan of Shazam because there's way too many cringy scenes for me. That's that.
All right, Ryan, go ahead, man.
It's hard because I don't have the type of memory that Deebs and Lowe have with this movie because I didn't grow up when this movie came out. Like I said, I recently just watched it in my fucking 20s. I agree with AJ. There are some cringy, wow, that's very 90s type moments, which I don't want to hold against the movie as much as AJ does because that was the time the movie was made in. The world was a very different place back then. And but it's really hard to underestimate the cultural resonance and the impact of that film with Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill as just those two characters alone. They're still playing those characters to this day. Like, dude, so what? 2003, dude, almost 30 fucking years. 30 years of playing the same characters, whether it's video games, TV shows, or even animated movies. Dude, I just find that insane to show how much of this movie this had an impact on. But I found The Dark Knight much more enjoyable because I like the darker, grittier Batman, which is why I like the Batfleck version of Batman. I like the more hardcore, not really giving a crap. My life doesn't really matter, but I'll do anything anyways. If I die, I die. I'm just like some lost soul that doesn't really mean anything. Like kind of real gritty, doesn't really care. But yeah, the Batman Returns just had a lot of badass moments. While Mask of the Phantasm did have some badass moments, but it was more of a love story more than of beat 'em up brawler, as I guess you would call The Dark Knight Returns. I'm gonna go with the 9.5 for The Dark Knight Returns and an 8.5 for Mask of the Phantasm.
I think Mask of the Phantasm went a little bit too kid friendly, even though there are some elements that are for adults only. But
Yeah.
I think that was one of the problems that I had. I'm not a big fan of kid-friendly
No,
shows.
I'm with you, AJ. That's why I like the Dark
Yeah.
Knight.
Hey, real
It's just
quick,
so
shout
brutal.
out to Alfred who kept walking in on Andrea and Bruce.
Facts, yes.
Like she
Yeah.
would kiss him and her
Cock
leg would go
blocker.
up, and Alfred would be like, "Oh." I'll just see myself out.
Cock of the century, dude. Cock
Well, what's
blocker of the
funny is
century.
it's assumed they sleep with each other because like she's like there in the morning and she's like, "All right, I'll see you later, Bruce." It's like, okay,
They don't want to say it though
I guess.
because it's kid friendly.
Yeah, no, like
Kids can't know about the SEX word.
Even
sexy
though they
time.
already know about it.
Bro,
I'm just saying.
I'm
because
just
when
saying,
they kissed, it was night, and then the next morning she's like, "All right, bye."
and I'm like, oh my god, they just had
Exactly.
sex. Mom, Bruce just had sex with this woman, and they didn't want to tell me.
But you know what's funny? I think this pretty much went the way I thought it would. So it seems like the final verdict, like Speed Up's team, Master the Phantasm,
I'm
Team
really
Nostalgia,
curious to know who wins with this one, though.
and then Team Geek Fix is like the dark badass Batman. I kind of went the way I thought. So
Low and I are
AJ,
clearly
thumbs
the
out, man.
romantic saps here.
Oh, so I watched Inception today. And,
Oh yeah, in the theater.
How'd
and
it go?
I loved it. Well, I already watched Inception, but the movie theater experience was really good. It was really,
In the
really good.
theater, like, what was it like being back in the theater?
It was really good. A lot of people had their mask on, which is a good thing. A lot of people followed the 6-foot rule.
Wait, where did you go? AMC or Regal?
Regal. It was Regal
Okay.
for me. Everybody followed the 6 feet distance, and there was actually a good amount of people there as well. So I feel like that's a good sign for now. Hopefully, we won't get any any people.
AJ,
that's
can I
like,
ask you, like,
yeah,
did you feel safe?
I
How
did.
did you feel?
I did feel safe. Yes.
Wait,
And then in the theater, were people taking their masks off? Like, did that make you uncomfortable or no?
They only took their mask off to eat or drink something, and they put it back on.
All right. So the AC Universe says, "Yo, Shazam was fire." Amanda says Shazam is a hate-free zone.
everything that we don't like is a hate-free zone for her.
Look,
We don't listen to
Shazam.
anyone.
I love the chemistry between the kids and Shazam. I love the way they explore Shazam's powers. But the main thing that I hated was how cringy the villain was. I don't care what anybody says. The villain
No
was cringy as
fucking
hell.
way, dude.
It was cringy as hell.
I should
that
have just given
moment-
that shit a 10.
What?
I should have just given The Dark Knight a fucking 10.
You shut
Yeah, I
up.
knew it.
Shut up.
45.5, man.
All right,
Um,
here we go. All right, we've got 46.5 out of 50 for me for Phantasm, 44 out of 50 for Dark Knight Returns. I've got Phantasm. Low has 45.5 out of 50 for Phantasm, 43.5 for Dark Knight Returns. He is pro Phantasm. AJ is 45 for Phantasm. That's pretty high, bro. That's pretty high. That's higher than I thought it would be. And
I
then-
love Phantasm.
Love it. And 46.2 for Dark Knight Returns. Not that's pretty close, dude. And then Ryan has 43.5 for Phantasm and 44 for Dark Knight Returns.
By a hair.
Holy moly. So this is close, guys. This is really close. So you take the averages here, 45.1 out of all four of us. Mask of the Phantasm won. Any reaction to that?
Nah,
I'm not shocked, but I'm shocked at the same time. I don't know why. Don't ask me, but hell, it doesn't matter. They're both fantastic films at the end of the day.
I would consider both of them masterclass in filmmaking and just masterclass for Batman. If you want a great Batman story, these are two movies you actually have to watch.
Amen.
I think also, AJ, like piggybacking off of that, I think anyone that hasn't experienced any animation DC at all, that's like a good place to start.
100%, yeah.
So that's the entire point of this versus concept, is really kind of the lead conversation and guide to two of the best movies of all time in Mask of the Phantasm and Dark Knight Returns. Loretto, any last comments? Or we're going to wrap this up.
I don't know if Geekly Goods is still with us, but anybody watching, stay tuned tomorrow for the Geekly Goods Geekly Goods live stream.
It's okay. You got
Oh
this. I
man,
believe
I'm
in you.
tired. Amanda is doing a live stream tomorrow too. Is it on her channel? Is it Candace?
She's not
Yeah.
doing a live stream.
Oh, she's doing
I
a
mean,
post
yes,
stream
Yeah,
for
post.
Batman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing a
Oh,
post.
yeah,
DC
Ryan,
Fandom stream
are you
about
on that?
Batman.
Ryan, are you on that?
Yeah, I'm on it.
Yeah, so me and Ryan are going to be on that. I think around 9:15 Eastern time.
Yeah.
So that'll be all
9:20.
about the Batman. We can't get enough of it.
It's
I can't
everything.
wait to
It's
see it.
everything. It's everything.
Yeah.
Oh, she's doing the whole fandom.
Yeah, she's doing the whole fandom, which will be fucking dope.
Cool. So y'all stay tuned for that. That's gonna be a whole lot of fun. I can't wait for tomorrow. I don't even know if I could sleep tonight.
Right? I'm about to be watching DC movies all night. I don't think I'm.
Dude.
I'm an old dad. I'm going to bed. What about you, Ryan? Any final takes? Final takes,
Ryan.
Ryan?
Oh, you said me. Shit, my bad. You cut out. Yeah, man. Honestly, I thought this was a great first episode for us. I'm really glad that it wasn't too big of a distance in the numbers for the final scores. I'm really happy it came down to a hair because with these two films, if it was a big gap, there was a problem there. But it came down to 0.7 or yeah, 7 difference, which was fucking great. But yeah, man, tomorrow is gonna be awesome, man. We've all been looking forward for DC fandom, and we've all been working hard for not only tomorrow, but this entire week. This is DC fandom week, and tomorrow is DC fandom day, and we just can't wait. No one can just wait to show you what we just have in store going forward after this. I'm just gonna say DC fandom is monumental for comic book cinema in general moving forward. This is going to be big, whether it comes to Comic-Con next year for hell, even Marvel, because this will be a fucking success. Excuse my French, ladies, but this will be a success. And I'm more than certain they will do this next year. And Marvel will take a book from DC finally after so many years. And I'm just happy to do it. And I'm happy to be sharing the experience with you guys and everyone in Movie Matrix, Geekly Goods, AJ with Geek Fix, everyone. Just appreciate the fuck out of you guys so much. And tomorrow's going to be great. And of course, catch me on. I'm going to be starting off the Geekly Good stream tomorrow with Leo, Isaac, and Lo, right? You're going to be there? You're going to start it off, or you're going to be there?
I'm going to pop in on the Suicide Squad around 12:15 Eastern.
Okay,
right?
yeah. I'm going to be on the Flash one opening and the Suicide Squad, so I'll definitely see you there. And then I'll see AJ and Lo tomorrow night on Amanda's stream, guys. Can't wait to see you guys there.
Yep. All right, go ahead, AJ. Any final thoughts?
I actually have a suggestion for our next podcast or any podcast that has the verses in it.
Release the Schumacher cut.
No, fuck that.
Damn!
we should do Inception versus Paprika. I think that would be a great.
I've actually never seen Paprika, so this
Well,
gives me a chance to see it.
give it a chance to see it. There you go.
I love it.
That's
Dibes, we got to do it, bro. And you got to watch Paprika, Dibes. It's going to blow your mind.
I'm in.
Literally.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll be joining Geekly Goods stream pretty much all day long tomorrow. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait. I can't wait to overreact to Cheetah. All of it. I'm just.
God, I hope they don't.
Hey, real quick.
Revealer.
Like Paprika is like if Leonardo DiCaprio, the character Cobb in Inception, if he was on acid the whole time, that's Paprika.
I don't even know what Paprika is, but it sounds good.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Sounds great. All right. I think let's wrap it up. Make sure you check out the Suit Up TPL on Twitter. All of our brackets are really second round is going to start tomorrow. If you're watching this, probably not. Saturday around 10 a.m. The second round starts. It's going to be a ton of fun. Check out Movies Matrix. Check out Geekly Goods. For Loretto, for Ryan, for AJ, for myself. Oh, check out the Geek Fix, of course. Oh, my God. Check out the Geek Fix on YouTube. For all of us here, thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.